His legend began at the opening of the 1922 tomb of Tutankhamun, and the first inscriptions written on it will strike death with its toxic wings, all but the concern of the pharaonic king in the sleep of Tutankhamun, the most exciting and mysterious pharaoh kings to ignore the right to kill the pharaoh king. The name of Tutankhamun in the name of the pharaoh's curse is associated with the tomb of Tutankhamun and the treasures found inside it without any damage or change made Tutankhamun the most famous pharaohs for puzzles and questions that remain unanswered. In particular, as some of the oldest assassinations in humanity's history before the start of the episode, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, admire and activate the bell button to get you all new. Who is Tutankhamun? His association with the pharaohs cursed him is what is the mysterious story of his death and interesting theories. And finally, for the gas of his hidden tomb? When Tutankhamun died, he was one of the kings of the 18th Egyptian family. He was ruled from 1334 to 1323 until his death. Tutankhamun, the son of King Akhenaten Amenhotep IV, was declared the Egyptian Monuments Council in April. The machinery of a nation that is the sister of the mother of yes is not surprising. This was common in pharaohs who did not believe that they maintained the purity of the lineage in this way. His child was identified by a DNA scan conducted for a mummy never known to the younger lady discovered at the KV-35 cemetery. According to archaeologist PhPhArafa, Tutankhamun was 9 years old when the pharaoh became a brother, and his name is in Old Egypt. The pharaoh's curse refers to the belief that anyone who disturbs pharaoh's mummy should curse. Many writers and documentaries have discussed that curse due to scientific causes such as primates or radiation. Although sample stories date back to the 9th century, they doubled in the wake of Carter's discovery of the Tutankhamun cemetery due to a series of events that had been found since the beginning of the tomb hole. The legend of the curse began at the opening of the Tutankhamun cemetery in 1922, and the first thing that drew attention was Nafusha saying that death would hit his toxic wings, both the anguish of the king's comfort. After the discovery of the cemetery, strange events began with the death of many of the graves workers, and a major sandstorm struck the day the cemetery was discovered. One of the most prominent accounts of the curse was the flying of a falcon, one of the symbols given to the pharaohs, addressing the golden canary bird Allen, with whom Carter had come to Luxor, and when the cemetery discovered it was first called the Golden Sparrow Cemetery. Here begins the strangeness in Mohsen Muhammad's book The Theft of the King of Egypt, that when Carter traveled to Egypt, he put the help of the sparrow on the balcony to have a breeze of air. On the opening of the cemetery, Kander heard a weak distress, as if it were a signal scream. Kander rushed to the balcony to find a snake extending his tongue to the sparrow inside the cage. The curse was said to have started with the opening of the cemetery, as the snake was the symbol placed on the statues of Egypt's kings. Curse pharaohs, truth or legend? No doubt, we've all seen or even heard of a movie about mummies and their scary tales. There were many confusing ideas and puzzles circulating around one end. For decades. After the discovery by British archaeologist Howard Carter of the tomb of King Tutankhamun in Luxor in the 1920s, rumors about this story began to spread due to the curse of the pharaohs. Mysterious death days after the cemetery opened, 2 scientists who participated in the important discovery died due to poisoning, arsenic, which terrified everyone. Did the curse start? Some people believe that the alleged mystery by scholars and specialists. Ancient Egyptians used certain bacterial strains, toxins, or perhaps other techniques to protect their mummified kings and properties. The fate of an intruder, if he chooses to disturb the quiet king sleeping there, is usually written with hieroglyphics somewhere inside the cemetery. The murders of Howard Carter's team soon made headlines around the world after they opened King Tut's tomb, igniting a fire of interest in ancient Egypt and cursing kings that spread rapidly around the world. It was discovered in a courier sent by Egyptologist James Henry Preston to Howard Carter's house noticed a cobra snake surrounding his plane in his cage. The bird was killed, and as a result, this was one of the anecdotes from where the curse of the pharaohs arose, and an exciting event would happen. The first death among the team of discoverers involved in the stunning discovery occurred 6 weeks after the discovery of King Tutankhamun Lord's tomb. George is an investor in the research team and was present at the opening of the Tutankhamun cemetery. He died on April 5, 1923, from a mosquito bite caused by severe inflammation, which he suffered at the Tutankhamun cemetery. Several days. Lord Carnarvon died as a result of poisoning. Many thought this was retaliation or punishment for disturbing the tomb's calm, and it remains unclear why. The names of a few of the pharaoh's victims are given below. All these deaths were linked to contact with King Tutankhamun's mummy sometime. Lord Carnarvon, collaborator and undercover financier of Howard Carter's search for King Tut's tomb. George Bendet, France's most famous Egyptologist, died by finding a grave shortly after King Tutankhamun's visit, and archaeologist Hugh Evelyn White worked to dig King Tut's grave. He may have committed suicide because he was so terrified of the curse, and because of these two factors, after discovering the grave, many of his comrades who were on the search team died. Nothing was discovered but a message saying, "I gave up a curse forcing me to disappear," which is suspended. Carter's personal secretary Richard Bethel died in 1929 from a respiratory illness, 7 years after discovery. King Tut's mummy was x-rayed by radiologist Archibald Douglas Reed before being handed over to the museum. 3 days after the exam, this man died. As a result of a severe heart attack, Jim Almrez, a former director of antiquities, ended his life. Keep in mind that this story is not entirely accurate because Howard Carter, the man behind the Great Discovery, lived a long life and died in a way that was completely normal. This includes anyone entering the pharaoh's domain with a view to disturbing peace, especially Tutankhamun. So don't get upset unless it's Sunday and you're close to King Tut. There are many theories of the death of the little pharaoh, as it used to be. Some scientists say you're dead, others deny the discovery of this pharaoh cemetery and the treasures and holdings of the world's flowers. The former Egyptian Minister of Antiquities, Mamdouh al-Jumayyadi, who used a special alien and managed the land to examine a theory that the king's cemetery is smaller than expected for the king's residence, which means it has other hidden rooms.